June 27th, 2024. It's debate night. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, joined for our continuing coverage of the debate with Brett and Jordy Meiselas. It will be a historic evening, indeed, the first presidential debate of this election cycle between President Biden and Donald Trump. And we will be having a pre-show here where we will be going over what we expect, what's been going on thus far. Already there's some drama and some speculation that Melania is nowhere to be found. Now, we can't confirm for sure that Melania will not be at the debate, but she's not in Atlanta as of now. She did not travel with Donald Trump to Atlanta, as Caitlin Collins from CNN first reported. Former President Trump arrives in Atlanta without Melania Trump by his side, to which President Biden very recently made the following post, how thankful he was that Dr. Jill Biden was by his side. Dr. Jill Biden posted the following: the school year is over, the grades are in, and the campaign is kicking into high gear. My summer plans, heading out on the road to talk to voters about all the great work that @Joe Biden is doing. I'll be posting a lot more going forward. Follow along and let's win this thing. And President Biden responded, the best part of the campaign trail is having you by my side, Jilly. Even right there, Brett and Jordy, the contrast between these candidates could not be any more clear, right? From just President Biden's love of his family, the support of his wife, democracy, normalcy, supporting our allies. This isn't going to be a normal debate, right? I mean, I understand the instinct of some media to try to create other historical context. Oh, well, this is kind of like Nixon and JFK, or when lots of people thought that Al Gore was going to win the first debate and the expectations were this for George W. This is not like that at all. Donald Trump's been out there having imaginary conversations with Hannibal Lecter. He's changed the words of our national anthem. He's created a new anthem with the most violent insurrectionists who he calls hostages. He wants to overthrow our democracy. Donald Trump talks about being a dictator starting on day one. Donald Trump has already taken away women's reproductive rights, and he brags about doing so and overturning Roe v. Wade. On the other hand, with President Biden, you have someone who loves our freedom, someone who supports our democracy, somebody who maintains our alliances abroad, someone who does not cozy up to dictators and foreign authoritarians. This is a debate between authoritarianism, represented by Donald Trump, and democracy, represented by President Biden. We haven't ever had that before in American history. And look, I think also, you have all of these kind of deceptively edited Fox and right-wing propaganda clips that are out there. But miraculously, when people see President Biden for extended period of times, those clips that the right-wing propaganda media shows, they don't show what they show anymore. So what do they have to do? They have to then say, oh, well, there must be drugs. He's jacked up Joe. He must be taking Provigil. He's on steroids. Drug test him. It's rigged. It's unfair. CNN is rigged. They make up all of these conspiracies. There's going to be a 2-minute delay, which is just totally false. It is what they've always done. It's what Donald Trump has always done his entire life. He just repeats it. It's fairly easy to predict his behavior because he repeats this stuff over and over again. The whining, the complaining, the conspiracies that everything is rigged. We'll see tonight, though. President Biden is going to be talking about things, policies, topics: protecting women's reproductive rights, how we get more Americans high-paying jobs, bottom up, middle out. He's going to talk about his successes, whether it was the CHIPS Act, reinvigorating the semiconductor industry here in the United States of America, the Infrastructure Act. There's over 40,000 infrastructure projects, jobs, because of partisan legislation that President Biden pushed that Donald Trump failed to do. The PACT Act, over 1 million claims have been filed by veterans who now get life-saving care that they would not have been able to obtain but for the policies of President Biden. Our support of Ukraine and how Donald Trump would want to support Vladimir Putin to take over Ukraine. We're going to see details, facts, policy from President Biden and from Donald Trump. I think he's just going to say, well, very powerfully, we did this. And, my friend Hannibal Lecter, that's a very nasty question that you're asking. Very nasty, fake tapper. They call you fake tapper. That's why they call him the fake news. And that's what you're going to hear over there. Look, Donald Trump hasn't debated in a very long time. Donald Trump's had no connection with any policy for a very, very long time. I don't think he had any connection when he was in the White House, frankly. He spent 1 year playing golf. But we're, about an hour or so away from this thing. Brett and Jordy, what do you think?
I think we're in for a night like we've never seen before. And we've seen these Trump-Biden debates back in 2020. Well, at least the ones that Donald Trump showed up for. Remember, he did ditch the final debate in that saga. And it's honestly quite amazing that he's even showing up tonight. I know a lot of folks were predicting that he would not show. I think ultimately he waited too long and then ultimately got trapped in it. And at the last minute tried to make all these other excuses to try to see if he could find any way to back out. But it appears that as of this moment that Donald Trump will be there. But, I think what President Biden ultimately has to do is President Biden needs to be himself, quite frankly. President Biden is great on his feet in these moments. President Biden is a guy who leads with a steady hand, and I think he should have that steady hand tonight at the debate, focusing on the extreme contrasts between him and Donald Trump. And I think Trump's going to kind of constantly try to get under his skin throughout the whole time. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. The thing is, Donald Trump paints this dystopian view of America, which truly only aligns with the America that existed under Donald Trump. Everything that Donald Trump says about the country being so terrible and things being, you're not able to get things at the stores and we need to be energy independent and all that, like we had all the problems with that stuff quite literally under Donald Trump, when you went to the store and you couldn't even buy a roll of toilet paper. But when you look at the actual facts of the matter and you look at President Biden's record, it's quite frankly one of the best records in American history. I mean, there was the report today as well that for the first time in decades and decades and decades, the United States of America is energy independent. I mean, that's one of Trump's whole things. And I bet he tries to use that line as well tonight. That actually was accomplished under President Biden. Donald Trump speaks about being beholden to China. Trump was beholden to China, and Trump had all these corrupt dealings with China, where he made deals with China in order for them to give patents to his daughter Ivanka. Meanwhile, President Biden, with the U.S. economy, has actually surpassed China's for like the first time in decades and decades. If you look at the actual data and the actual facts, they do not lie. So I think President Biden has to stick with the facts. I think he needs to, sharply have sharp comebacks to Donald Trump when Trump tries to lie. And I think this will be an interesting format. Now, for those listening to the podcast, the debate's already happened if you're listening to this podcast. So this is going to be a fun run back of the night with the pre-show. But as a reminder, there are some unique rules in place for this CNN debate. There are going to be commercial breaks in this debate. Normally, they do these things commercial free. There are going to be 2 commercial breaks during the 90-minute broadcast tonight. There are going to be no opening statements. You typically have the opening statements from each candidate. Instead, each candidate is going to deliver a 2-minute closing statement statement at the conclusion, with Donald Trump delivering the final statement of the night. They're going to be muting microphones when the individuals are not speaking. And this is a thing that, folks have debated quite a bit. Who does the muted microphone help more?
Mhm.
Does it help President Biden more? Does it help Donald Trump more? Is it a moot point? I've seen arguments in both directions, and I think we could discuss that in a bit. But those are the general ideas here. Now, CNN is not letting us at the MeidasTouch Network stream the actual debates, so we're going to be giving you pre-debate coverage here. We have a special guest that we are excited to share our interview with. It is the second gentleman of the United States.
Let's go.
Doug Emhoff will be joining us tonight to discuss President Biden and what he has to do in his debate against Donald Trump. We are very excited to show you our interview with the second gentleman. But folks, what do you think about these rules? What do you think about this debate presentation, the muted microphones? Jordy and I were discussing this quite a bit before. I would love to get your take.
Yeah, we did have a great discussion about this. And let me just start off by saying, I have all the faith in the world in President Biden tonight. I like that he's taking this seriously. I like that he stepped away to focus and prepare for the debate. Again, just looking at the preparation of what President Biden does to be a leader versus what Donald Trump pretends to do. I mean, Trump hasn't done anything except these weird rallies and go on Newsmax and all these weirdo programs and just start bad-mouthing America and bad-mouthing President Biden. It's his shtick. It's bizarre. So I'm happy that President Biden is treating this with a level of seriousness that it deserves. As far as the rules, I really have mixed feelings, Brett, on this whole muted mic situation. Because look, something that we do here on the MeidasTouch Network is we let people just hear Donald Trump out. Sometimes we play the clips of him at these rallies acting like a total lunatic, unfiltered, and then we let you all walk away with your own opinions. Is that really what you want for your commander-in-chief? I would fancy to say that no. All of those clips show you time and time again that Donald Trump is an unhinged lunatic. So this whole concept of muting the mics, the only thing and person that actually benefits is sort of the audience, because you don't hear a lot of over speaking and crosstalk or anything like that. But after watching the demonstration last night, it really looked as if they didn't think this whole thing out. And that's because President Biden's on stage right next to Donald Trump. And President Biden will hear Donald Trump continuing to act like an unhinged lunatic over and over again. But the American people, I don't think, will hear that. And why I think that's so important is because in the first debate, as annoying as it was when Donald Trump was interrupting President Biden over and over and over again, well, that kind of showed the American people this guy can't control himself. Tonight with this muted mic situation, it sort of sanitizes Trump in a way. Now, I still don't think he'll be able to control himself, and I still think he'll behave like a complete lunatic, but I do think it kind of benefits Trump in some weird way. Going back to that first debate, one of the most famous moments that I just loved was when President Biden looked at Donald Trump and said, "Will you shut up, man?" I really think that resonated to so many Americans who just wanted to say that to him because he was behaving like a total fool. So, Ben, what do you think with that?
I disagree with you. I mean, look, it's 90 minutes long. They're going to have ample time to respond to various topics. I want them to get to lots of topics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this to be filibustered with him going, blah, 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 blah. I know. I don't want that. With 90 minutes, with terse answers, people need to understand. We, the people, need to understand these people who want the most powerful job in the world. What do they stand for? What do they know? What are they going to do for us? Because, one of the things that I'm very critical about Donald Trump is that it's always me, me, me. Oh, they're coming after me. He's quite literally running on his criminal convictions and bragging that he's a felon. That's not in addition to that just being outrageous, that's not delivering for the American people. Him going up there, oh, they're treating me so badly. Can you believe it? A gag order. The New York jury, the judge's daughter, Michael Cohen, this person, that person, wow. That you can do if you could filibuster and you can't get shut down. I want there to be 50 topics discussed, and I want the topics to be discussed to be nuanced and specific. I want the moderators to talk about specific policy vis-a-vis specific countries and I want to find out, do these people know what's going on? I want to hear the plans. I know President Biden's plans, right? I know about the Infrastructure Act. I know about the Inflation Reduction Act. I know about the CHIPS Act. I know about the PACT Act. I know his policies. He's going to talk very specifically about it. I know where President Biden,
and just to back up Jordy, like, one sec, because I think Jordy needs a little bit of reinforcements on.
Hey, thanks, B. I appreciate
on
you.
this one.
Ben always disagrees with me.
Think about, though, one of the most pivotal moments of the debates from 2020. It was the moment where Donald Trump was speaking about the Proud Boys, and Joe Biden said to him, "What do you think about the Proud Boys?" And Donald Trump responded with the infamous line, "Stand back and stand by." That's how that happened. It happened from one of those confrontations. So I'm not saying that the muted mics are necessarily a net negative or a net positive, but you're not going to have a clash. You're not going to have a moment like that.
Because they're going to get to call each other out. Then there's going to be an opportunity for a rebuttal. And you better believe that President Biden's going to go and call Donald Trump out. He's going to say, here's what I think. Here's what he thinks. And then they're going to go rebuttal. Donald Trump, what do you say about that? And then he's going to respond. You can't let Trump ramble, because Trump will then take the thing over and he will start whining and complaining, and he will spend 50 minutes filibustering the thing, talking about Hannibal Lecter and talking about weird stuff, how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. And that, what people need to see, and that's why this is a public service, this debate. A debate like this makes me proud to be an American, proud to live in this country where there are debates like this, because we, the people, deserve this. We really do. We need to see them for 90 minutes be grilled. I want Biden to be grilled. I don't want softballs at Biden. I want Biden to be grilled. I want Trump to be grilled. They're auditioning for the highest job in our land. And I'm sick and tired of Donald Trump's whining and acting like a baby. Dude, you were born a billionaire. You were born a billionaire. Your son, Don Jr., was in the Middle East today bragging about the first class service that he was getting on some flight that he was on in a deal brokered by Saudi Arabia for some Trump project in the Middle East. Y'all are whining.
Man of the people, a real man of the people.
And why, oh, my life's so unfair. I live in a $30 million mansion. Trump literally lives in a resort. He lives in a resort. And everyone's treating me so unfairly. That's not what this. CEOs don't do that. Managed people don't do that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So I think it is critical that these candidates, that President Biden and Donald Trump, who are running for this office, be asked for 90 minutes. I don't want rambling. And by the way, Jordy, you'll see on the split screen, though, when Donald Trump's face, this is going to be a theme that we're going to hear about, too. What you're going to see, Donald Trump's going to probably still be talking after the questions are asked, after his time is done. Yeah. You'll still see him, right? You'll see him on the split screen like this. I'll be like,
I wonder if he could hear that he's muted. Like, he'll see like the dot on that they have on the thing. I wonder if he could hear it, or if he'll think people could speak. He could still do it, And already, though, like, this is already an electric debate before it's even begun. We already went through before. Will Melania show? Will Melania not show? And we showed that that post from President Biden about Jill, the First Lady, being there, but. Folks, like, have you seen the spin room guests? The spin room, what they call it, is the room after the debate when they start interviewing the surrogates from the campaigns about how the debate went. So here is who President Biden is bringing with him as surrogates to Atlanta in the debate. And this is going to get so under Donald Trump's skin. His blood has to be boiling right now. Mary Trump is a surrogate of the Biden campaign. You heard that right. The Mary Trump, Donald Trump's very own niece, showing up to the debate as a Biden campaign surrogate. Former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms of Atlanta will also be joining him. Representative Jasmine Crockett, a fan favorite of the MeidasTouch Network, who's been doing some incredible work. California Governor Gavin Newsom is there showing his support. Representative Robert Garcia, Cedric Richmond, and Senator Raphael Warnock, all there in the spin room. That is a powerful team. And I think it also speaks volumes, quite frankly, to show you the team that President Biden has around him. And here would be my challenge to Donald Trump, right? Trump, where are all your other kind of past, where's your VP from the last administration? Where are all of the officials who you worked with in your last administration? None of them wanted to show up? No, what? No, none of them. Oh, none of them have endorsed you. None of them. Literally dozens and dozens have disavowed you and have called you an idiot and have said you're a danger to the country. Okay, got it. Just trying to figure out here why none of them are here to give you any support. I want to give you a bit of a look of what it looked like outside of the debate as President Biden was arriving. Let's show this clip of the crowd outside in Atlanta.
There was at least 8 million people there.
I saw at least 8. I think that you're lowballing it. I think I saw at least 15 million folks in there. Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it can't be stated enough that Melania isn't there tonight, that the former first lady isn't even there to support her husband. I mean, that is alone just one of the most incredible things about
you guys remember the last debate? Do you remember at the end there? Maybe he wanted to avoid this moment. And by the way, it's possible, I guess, that she arrived separately. I don't know. She's not there right now. So I want to just put that out there. But do you remember that moment, Jordy, at the last debate?
Yes.
At the end, President Biden and Jill Biden, they're hugging and give a kiss. They look like the loving couple that they are. And the camera goes on the other side and you see Donald and Melania and you see Trump like kind of swatting at Melania's hand and like kind of grabbing it like, oh, hey, like me, fake it for me, please. And it was so cringeworthy. And maybe, they just wanted to avoid it. But it goes back to one of the things that we've been saying that I think has a broader point and is a broader data point about Donald Trump and about Melania. It's the constant lying and gaslighting of Donald Trump and the way that he manipulates the media in order to plant these BS messages. If you've been listening to the MeidasTouch podcast and watching the MeidasTouch Network on YouTube, first, thank you. But second, you've seen our reports on how Donald Trump scams the media about Melania. He consistently plants these stories, Melania to take center stage in the Trump campaign of 2024 after the ruling in the election interference case with Stormy Daniels in New York. The family has never been closer. Melania and Ivanka are best friends, and everybody is so happy. Yeah, you know who said that to the New York Post, likely? I'm going to guess John Barron, which for those who know is the alias of Donald Trump that he uses when he calls the publication. That, quite frankly, is how all these stories likely get planted. And they're just proven over and over again to be lies. And there's some willing media like the New York Post that takes it and publishes it to help Donald Trump. And then there's some unwilling media who takes it because I guess they think it will get clicks. I don't know. But it shows you that if Trump is speaking, he's probably lying, even about things as dumb as that.
Take a look at what he's been posting as well. And again, this just shows you why this is just this behavior of Donald Trump. It's just not normal behavior. This is not a decent human being. This is not someone of any character at all. This is what Donald Trump posts. He goes, and he's reposting the Babylon Bee, but this is what he reposts. Trump preps for debate against Biden by going to nursing home and arguing with dementia patients. Like, could you imagine Obama, Romney, Obama, McCain Kerry, George W. Bush, Al Gore, George W. Bush, Clinton, Dole, Clinton, George H.W. Bush, Reagan, right? I mean, just think about
Keep going back to the beginning.
I mean,
keep going.
just name everyone. You know, but just think about that behavior. I mean, one, the level ages that I've seen and how that's been normalized is something that doesn't get called out enough. We respect older people. That's kind of what I was taught being raised, number one. Donald Trump's also like the same age as President Biden. Like they're not too different. And Donald Trump is the one, because it's always projection and confession, who actually displays these really serious cognitive issues. I mean, Donald Trump goes around, and one of the other things that he makes a major part of his traveling fascist circus thing that he calls rallies or a campaign, in addition to running on the fact that he is a convicted felon, is that he keeps taking cognitive exams, he says, from Ronnie Jackson, and passes these cognitive exams, these dementia tests, and he brags, "Have you heard about Dr. Ronnie Johnson? Is it Johnson? Have you heard about the rebuttal? And by the way, I took a cognitive exam and I aced it." And I'm just like, what the hell is that? What am I watching here? But like everything, it's all projection and confession. Here at the MeidasTouch Network, we created a short, kind of a throwback to old school Meidas. And these videos are made possible, thank you to everyone here who subscribes to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors here. So one of the ways we build this platform, increase our staff, is through patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And I think next week we'll do an exclusive Zoom meeting. If you ever wanted to meet me, Brett and Jordan will answer all of your questions next week about the debate, where we think things are headed. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. But take a look at this short that we created here at the MeidasTouch Network. Let's play it.
And my stupid people, when I wanted to refute it, they said, "Sir, don't dignify it with a rebuttal."
Have you been noticing peculiar behavior recently in someone you know?
Carried out by rape.
Someone who mixes fiction and reality?
The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man.
Perhaps someone of advanced age you have known for years.
Did you just see Maduro, Venezuela? It's unbelievable, Venezuela.
Of course, we all have our goofs. But consistently odd behavior can be a sign of frontotemporal dementia, a degenerative disease of the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain that dramatically impairs cognitive function. And there are some key signs to look out for, like slurring words.
The failing New York Times by anonymous, really anonymous.
Struggling to find the correct words is another sign.
The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges of the investigation.
You may also notice someone veering into incoherent ideas, detached from reality.
You know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark.
Or an inability to complete simple sentences.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Other notable symptoms include impaired motor function, such as a wavering limb, and decreased balance, often accompanied by a signature lean or arched stance. If someone you know is demonstrating several or all of these symptoms, they are seriously unwell. As a matter of safety, they must be relieved of critical responsibilities and disqualified from any position of authority. Remember, frontotemporal dementia is a degenerative disease. Cognitive function will never return and will only deteriorate further. Don't ignore the signs.
Do you ever think that you would see the President of the United States have to debate a convicted felon. Well, we are less than an hour away from that President Biden debating convicted felon Donald Trump. The fact that he even has to share the stage with a convicted felon who MAGA Republicans anointed as someone who they want to be a dictator is something that I never thought we'd see here in the United States of America. But the pro-democracy community is growing. The pro-democracy community is strong. And when we get back, we will be speaking with the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. Excited to bring him in on our pre-coverage of the debate. Let's go to our first break right now. If you have sensitive skin, you know how hard it can be to find a product that doesn't cause irritation, but today's sponsor, OneSkin, makes it easy. Their topical supplements are formulated with soothing ingredients and natural antioxidants, plus they're gentle enough to use every day, even if you have sensitive skin. Founded by an all-women team of scientists, OneSkin's products are backed by extensive lab and clinical data to validate their efficacy and safety on all skin types. Not only that, they're the first and only skin longevity company to target cellular senescence, a key hallmark of aging. Their topical supplements are the easiest way to keep your skin healthy and hydrated without the harsh ingredients or irritation often found in other skincare products. So, for a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off using our code Meidas when you check out at oneskin.co, oneskin.co. Give your skin the scientifically proven gentle care it deserves with OneSkin. Now, treating the symptoms rather than the root causes of aging has long been the norm. Most skin care available on the market is designed to provide a temporary reduction in visible signs of aging, addressing just the surface symptoms of an underlying decline in skin health. In a third-party 12-week clinical study performed by third-party research organization OS1 Face was clinically proven to strengthen the skin barrier, improve skin health markers, and diminish visible signs of aging. Wrinkles were diminished in 87% of users. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using the code Meidas at OneSkin, ONESKIN.co, oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co using the code Meidas. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that the MeidasTouch Network sent you. More energy, less abdominal fat, and better health without having to totally restrict your diet or lose lean muscle. Yep, it's a real thing. It's Prolon. Introducing Prolon, a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at the University of Southern California Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon helps promote healthy blood sugar, support cardiovascular health, and reduce abdominal fat. But Prolon isn't a diet. Prolon is a science based on Nobel Prize winning discoveries in medicine. And this all starts with Prolon's 5-day program, snacks, soups, and beverages, all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced. I noticed a significant boost in my mental clarity and physical performance after completing Prolon's 5-day program. The convenience of having everything I needed in one box made it super easy to stay on track, and I had a lot of fun sharing my progress with my brothers, and I thought it was pretty easy to keep on track with the program. Right now, Prolon is offering the MeidasTouch podcast listeners like you 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. Go to prolonlife.com/Meidas. That's PROLONLIFE.com/Meidas for this special offer. That's prolonlife.com/Meidas. Thank you to our sponsors. The discount codes are in the description below. I think that my wife is somewhat behind some of these new sponsors between the OneSkin and Prolon. I think she wanted me to step up the game a little bit. She saw some of those
They call it a hint
about a month ago because I'll just say that Prolon and OneSkin, I use both those products and they've been actually really helpful. Like, I think you could quite literally go back a month ago or 2 months ago before I started and see the difference for yourself.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of comments too recently. I gotta say, a lot of positive comments, and I want to give a huge shout out. You know, while we're here doing this show, to our incredible production team behind
Yes.
the scenes who is making our live stream possible. I want to give a shout out to the famous Salty. I want to give a shout out to
Salty.
Jeremy. I want to give a shout out to Hayden and
Hayden.
Sydney and our entire editorial staff, Asen, Ron Filipkowski. A huge shout out to our entire team who is watching the debate tonight, covering the debate tonight, handling all the behind the scenes work, cutting clips for social media while we do this to make sure that as many people as possible see this debate. So just a huge shout out to the MeidasTouch Network team.
Absolutely. 100%, Brett. We're firing on all angles tonight. So if you're not following our Instagram or our TikTok, or all of our social accounts are at MeidasTouch. We're getting up clips of the night as they're breaking, as we're doing the show, but smaller sound bites too are also hitting the social feeds. Super snackable and shareable. Definitely check those out. It's at MeidasTouch, all those handles.
I've seen a lot of comments like this one. LOL. Meidas has twice the viewers right now that CNN does. And I'll just say, look,
Now you know why they're not letting us stream the
there's a reason why corporate media does not want us to stream this thing, because I think we would literally be number one and show the power of the pro-democracy community. But here's the thing. This project is both kind of a short-term rapid response, and this is generational. When you go back and you look at when Fox started and its nefarious plans began in the 1970s and how generationally it crept up, we want to do the opposite of what they did. We want to support our democracy, and we know that that's a generational task. We view this community as actually the remedy to the disinfo spread by Fox, and it took them generations to metastasize and grow in a bad way. We want to grow in a good way together and spread love and spread compassion and spread decency and talk about our democracy and support each other and not put each other down, and really build here in America and frankly abroad, because we have so much international supporters, this global pro-democracy community that supports each other and that just sticks up for each other and our fellow human beings. So I'll stop preaching there, but that's
Ben, I wanted to say on that note, you have done some incredible interviews over the past few days with former Trump supporters. And I just want to let the folks know who are watching this as well. If you haven't seen those, you could check out the videos on our YouTube channel with Ben interviewing former Trump supporters. In some cases, these are folks who voted for Trump twice, voted for Trump in both elections, and have had a change of heart. And I think it's important that we welcome those folks into the pro-democracy fold. There's no use in pushing these people away. And Ben, I think those conversations are so incredibly important and powerful. And there's a ripple effect that I'm noticing that is happening from you having these conversations, because every time we post one of those videos, we get dozens of more emails. That's way undershooting it, from people who are the same, people who say, I supported Trump. I need to tell my story about why I no longer do. And there are so many of us out there. I've been floored, quite frankly, by the way our inbox keeps filling up every day with more and more people who have these similar stories. It's quite amazing. And I want to give you props for that.
I have a great deal of empathy for people who are moving away from what the Republican Party has become. I understand the pull of politics as this kind of tribalistic thing. I mean, just think about it in a more frivolous example, like sports teams. We grew up in New York. Like, imagine being a Mets fan your entire life, and then all of a sudden you have to be a Yankee fan. Like that alone, and that's like a frivolous example, right? Because your identity is wrapped in something. Just imagine some of these people who have been Republicans their entire life, their friends and the community, the clubs they are a part of. Like, it's not just a sports team thing. This is their very identity. And then the party is taken over by this MAGA thing, but it's still called Republican. And you know you're going to lose friends and you could lose family members. And where do you go? There's also kind of a shame and a guilt and embarrassment that you were kind of led this far by a grifter like Donald Trump. So some people's reaction, because of the shame, is just to dig deeper and search for the next conspiracy. And rather than getting out of the cult, you dig deeper into the cult. And we study cult deprogramming here. There's a lot of that. So even if people are leaving now And you may say, well, how do you fall for that twice? Really? Or January 6th didn't do it, or this didn't do it. That's unacceptable. What I say is welcome to the pro-democracy community. There's a place for you here. And sure, it puzzles me a little bit that you didn't catch on to it. But I welcome you for real into this pro-democracy community. We love the Constitution. We love our flag. We love the United States of America. And we show that not by putting images of President Biden on flags. We don't change the words to the anthem. We don't go to cult rallies. We just try every day to live the best of our ability, and we're fallible and we make mistakes with these values, and just do our best to contribute to civilization each and every day. So without further ado, I want to bring in the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. Here was the interview I did with him. Let's bring in the second gentleman. So I'm joined by the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. Doug Emhoff, welcome.
It's good to be back. How are you?
Doing good. So big night. What do you expect at tonight's debate?
I think President Biden is going to just do an incredible job. He's going to just state the case that's just so obvious that this is a binary election. You've got Donald Trump on one hand, who has already proven to be an incredibly horrible president, like he was the first time. He is unfit to ever return to office again. He only cares about himself, and he's just shown that over and over again. And on the other hand, you have Joe Biden, who has done a remarkable job as president. I think he's going to go down in history as one of the all-timers in the role. Remember where we were in January of 2021, and look where we are now. So there's no question we need to keep this progress going. President Biden is going to make that case and draw the contrasts, and I think he's going to do a phenomenal job tonight, just as he's done as president these last 3+ years.
You know, it seems that Donald Trump and his allies have become increasingly nervous as this debate approaches. They're ratcheting it up still as we get ever closer. They're rolling out new conspiracy theories about the president, about the debate format, about CNN, about the moderators. What do you think that tells us?
They're afraid. It's all gaslighting. It's all to detract from what I just said, that he is completely unfit to be president of the United States again. Look at what they're really talking about. This 2025 plan to weaponize the Department of Justice, dictator on day one, tax cuts, again, additional tax cuts for the richest folks and corporations, more guns on the street, more drilling. So all the things that they plan to do, and not to mention ripping away our freedoms. You hear him, with glee bragging about the overturn of Roe v. Wade and all of these things that are harming us, literally harming us. So to detract from what they're trying to do and how horrible he will be, it's just more gaslighting. It's all deflection and distraction, which is par for the course for them.
I hear a lot of pundits trying to create parallels to other historical examples, Nixon versus JFK, Al Gore versus George W. Bush. But this is not really a normal thing that we're seeing here, where we have one candidate in President Biden who supports democracy, and then you have another candidate, the leader of the Republican Party, who supports views, and this is me putting it as nice as I can, that are reflective of wannabe authoritarianism, right? Like this, all of the discussions about this debate, I think, are kind of missing that this is democracy via authoritarianism.
Yeah, and you can't, both sides of this, you can't normalize it. Everyone needs to call it out, just like you just did there. This is not a normal situation where we're arguing about policy or tax policy or trickle down or limited government. This is literally, are we going to have a democracy or not? Do you believe in our Constitution or not? Do you believe in our rule of law or not? Do you believe in our very way of life or not. And people need to stop, again, both siding this and making this appear normal. This is not normal. This is not how our system works. And we already know who he is. We already know he was terrible at the job the first time. He's a worse version of what he was. And he's already telling us what he will do, which is all anti-American, anti-democracy, anti-who we are.
Many of Trump's campaign events have been exposed as scams. I'm proud that we here at the MeidasTouch Network call it out when he goes to a purported black church, but fills it with all white MAGA supporters wearing hats and in a place of worship, chanting out Donald Trump's name in a place of worship, or Trump going to other churches and cursing, or going to a Chick-fil-A and getting hugged by someone who literally is like a MAGA operative. And we call this out each time. Goes to a non-union shop and pretends it's a union rally. What's your take on this, and who does he think he's fooling?
Well, hasn't he been doing this his whole career, his whole life? He's been scamming his whole life, and draft dodger from way back when. And look at his entire business career has been built on scams. And he just got held accountable, remember, by the New York Attorney General for lying about valuations. This is who Donald Trump is. So why would we expect any different? So all these little scams, and again, it's all the gaslighting. It's what we were just talking about. It's all deflection from, if you really look at what they're trying to do, again, it's anti-American, it's anti-democratic. So that's what they keep having to, look over here while we are actually doing this. So not surprised, scammer his whole life, draft dodger, and not surprised at scamming on the campaign like this.
And meanwhile, Vice President Harris, your wife, has been crisscrossing the country, highlighting important topics such as reproductive rights and economic opportunity. What can you tell us about that?
She's doing a remarkable job as vice president, in total. But on this issue of reproductive freedom, we just had the 2-year. I hate to call it an anniversary because that connotes some kind of celebration. This is quite the opposite. This was 2 years of a right that was ripped away, this right of privacy to do, control the decisions about your own body. But we've seen the devastating effects of Dobbs. There's a healthcare crisis caused by this. And that's the point. The cruelty is the point. Remember in 2016, Donald Trump told Chris Matthews, women should be punished. Well, guess what? They are being punished. His handpicked Supreme Court, who looked my wife in the eye when she was on the Senate Judiciary Committee and pretended that they were going to uphold precedent, Roe v. Wade. They didn't. And now you're seeing what the other rights that are potentially at risk. You saw what Justice Thomas said in the concurring opinion of Dobbs. What else that's based on Griswold can we come after? Contraception, who you can love, who you can marry. So this is what Donald Trump has unleashed. The vice president has been out traveling the country, calling that out, drawing attention to it. And on the economic front, having her there highlighting issues like investment in the economy and small business, access to capital, maternal health care, all these things that she's brought to the fore as vice president, and so many other issues. I'm very proud of her. And I'm just happy to support her as a husband and also as the first, second gentleman.
And one of the things that we've been seeing here a lot are independents and also mainstream Republicans, mainstream conservatives, and even people who voted for Trump in 2016 and some who voted for him in 2016 and 2020. But there's been these pivotal moments, whether it was January 6th, mocking someone who was disabled, calling veterans suckers and losers. I could go on that list. They're leaving and they're just saying, look, I care about character. I care about normalcy. I care about democracy. There will be a time where we can have debates and discussions over specific policy nuances, but that's not what this is about right now in 2024. Are you seeing that as well? Do you think that's going to be important in this debate as well, to talk about character?
Absolutely. People, when I'm traveling, I get to travel the country. I've been all over the place, especially lately. And people do, they care. You have a convicted felon right now, and Donald Trump, who is purporting to want to be president again. Think about that. Think about the reflection that would have on us worldwide, and what kind of example does that set? So character matters. And of course, you have Joe Biden, who's devoted his entire life, his entire career for us, fighting for us. Donald Trump, his whole life, all about himself. I think people are going to see that. I think President Biden is going to really make that clear tonight. And as we go forward in these next 4 months, we're all going to get out there and make sure that people understand who's on the ballot. You've got a convicted felon who was terrible the first time, who has no business ever being back in the White House. He's completely unfit for office. And you have somebody in Joe Biden from day one, has done an incredible job as president first term and protecting our rights, increasing our economy, infrastructure. I see the impact of that all over the country, and we will continue that and then some in his second term.
Finally, there are a lot of Americans who are just nervous and they see the kind of both sidesing of these issues. And it's frankly why the MeidasTouch network's been growing, because we don't both sides the issues here. But what's your message to the American people generally, both in terms of what they should be looking for in this debate and over the next several months as we get closer to November?
I think people need to just look at facts and just look at performance and just, again, remember back to pre-COVID Donald Trump days. He was not good at this job. There was no golden era of the Trump presidency. There just wasn't. And look at what he did with COVID. It's probably going to go down as one of the biggest just abandonment of duties by any president in the history of our country. Hundreds of thousands of our friends and neighbors, family members died because of his incompetency and the incompetency of those around him. Just when we needed our government most, they weren't there. And then, of course, trying to overturn a free and fair election in 2020, fomenting insurrection at our Capitol, going back to the Capitol a couple of weeks ago and having those very same people running for their lives in terror, those Congress folks, just basically kissing his ass up there. It's sickening. And all Americans need to know that that's not who we are. That's not democracy. That's not rule of law. That's not who we are. We cannot have that again. We've got to continue with somebody who believes in our country, believes in our way of life, and that is Joe Biden.
When I see those MAGA Republican Congress members being dressed up by Donald Trump in ties with Donald Trump's face on it, as they've changed our national anthem to the J6 choir song, I lose my mind. And I always say this isn't
every American should be sickened by it.
Well, the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, we appreciate your time. Thank you as always, and we hope to have you back on the show for future events.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to the second gentleman right there, Doug Emhoff, everyone. And just so you all know, when I was saying how Donald Trump dresses up the members of Congress, the Republican members of Congress right now, in ties that have Donald Trump's face on it, and he makes them wear his fake gold shoes. This is the state of the Republican Party right now. There it is. There's just one example. I could show you many other examples of this, but this MAGA Republican Congress member Troy Nehls, you see him right there, wearing the fake gold Trump sneakers. If you kind of zoom in and you can see the tie he's wearing, it has Donald Trump's face on it. And this party that once purported to be about less government, here, pull it up one more time. This is the party that purported to be about less government, says, other than faith and family, the only hope we have is Donald Trump, and they call him president, even though
super conservative. And Ben, I think you left out one of the other glaring things. I mean, all these people want to be, they pretend mob bosses. He's holding a cigar in the photo with his legs crossed, like he's doing his best, I don't know, Godfather impression. It's just so pathetic that these are the leaders of an entire political party in this country. It's not okay.
A very strange cult, and a great interview with the second gentleman. And I think the second gentleman also brought up another fantastic point, which I think gets oddly overlooked, which is just how poorly Donald Trump manage the pandemic, if you even want to call whatever the hell it was that he did managing a pandemic, because it was far from that. I mean, what Trump did, Trump led to so many deaths, the way that he tried to pretend that this entire thing was just going to go away like a miracle. And I think one of the things that will be interesting at this debate is if this topic comes up, and that's the topic of, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? It's a common thing that comes up in presidential debates, right? I mean, one of the very first MeidasTouch videos that we ever released was based on an exchange between Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter, where Ronald Reagan looked into the camera and said, I want you to ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? We've seen Donald Trump and his surrogates try to roll out this line on TV. Weren't you better off 4 years ago? And they've frankly been laughed at by the American people when they brought out these lines, because 4 years ago was a disaster. 4 years ago, we were watching our family and friends suffer and die. 4 years ago, we were seeing refrigerated morgue trucks outside of hospitals to deal with the overflow of bodies. That was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we couldn't find toilet paper in the stores and we had to ration food. That's what happened under Donald Trump 4 years ago. So it'll be interesting, I think, A, if Donald Trump tries to go there, or B, if President Biden tries to go there, because President Biden has a very strong case to be made that America is extremely better off than we were 4 years ago by every single metric. And I think he has a very powerful case to make for all the success of his presidency. Doug Emhoff, of course, an incredible surrogate of the Biden campaign. Just, I like normal people who put their head down and
Love
do
me
the
some
work.
normal people.
Like normal. It's very, very,
It's refreshing. It's such a crazy time.
it's refreshing, especially as we play clips of some of these MAGA people who are just, I'll be nice and I'll just say not normal. But I want to show you one of the other Biden surrogates who was there in Atlanta with him. Let's see what Raphael Warnock, senator from Georgia, had to say earlier tonight.
To voters, what should President Biden say on tonight's stage to make his case and really try to solidify his support with black voters?
Well, first of all, he's running against a man who is an existential threat. Donald Trump is a plague on the American conscience and the American nation. And black voters in particular ought to be concerned that the Oval Office could be occupied by a man who took out a full-page ad condemning the exonerated five, used to be the Central Park Five, these young teenagers, of a terrible crime they did not commit. And when they were proven to be not guilty, he's never apologized for that. He's never come around. Joe Biden is running on his record. He's running on a record of canceling student debt, of passing the largest tax cut for middle and working class families in American history. And Donald Trump is literally running on his criminal record, as if that's a reason for black voters to vote for him. Nothing could be more insulting. And at the end of the day, not only our base, the people of Georgia, and I believe the American people are going to get this right because there's so much at stake.
Senator Raphael Warnock. Ben, you might want to unmute your microphone over there.
The mute button got him.
But, you know, and just think quickly, you know, just some of the ways that Donald Trump has tried to court black voters. It's been the most offensive thing on the planet. Donald Trump the other day, first he said he was attending this barbershop event in Atlanta. Then it turned out that he actually was not attending. He was just sending his surrogates, Byron Donalds, to go to this barbershop. Byron Donalds, who just a couple of weeks ago was hearkening back to the days of Jim Crow as if it was the best time for African Americans in this country, a great time for black families. I mean, how disgusting can you get? And what's the thing when Donald Trump calls in that he brags about, that he thinks is his way of relating with black voters? I'm a felon. You like felons, right? I'm a felon. You see my mugshot? Everybody likes my mugshot. Literally, this is what Donald Trump was saying. Donald Trump hawking his gaudy, ugly ass sneakers that he has. That's his whole kind of plan. Sneakers. Donald Trump going to a Chick-fil-A. I mean, you quite literally don't get more offensive than this. Donald Trump bringing on stage other felons who were indicted for murder and other horrific crimes. this is Donald Trump's strategy to court voters. And I think we're seeing it backfire over and over again, Ben.
We are 30 minutes away from the president of the United States debating a convicted felon. Never thought that I would say that statement before. The very fact that there is a convicted felon who's the leader of the Republican Party, who they want to have as their dictator, is, again, something I'd never say as well. But we've got 30 minutes more of pre-coverage before the debate starts. Let's go to our last quick break of the show.
Living in a city, I recently learned that indoor air pollution can be up to 5 times higher than outside. This was a real eye-opener for me. Then I discovered NeoPX, a 100% nature-based, bioengineered air purifier designed by PhD scientists. As someone who prioritizes health through diet and exercise, I realized that I needed to care about the air that I breathe daily too. NeoPX tackles harmful air pollutants called VOCs, which come from everyday items like furniture and cleaning products. The secret lies in pollutant-eating bacteria powered by Power Drops. Just mix the formula with water and add it to your plant monthly to activate air purification. NeoPX purifies the air as effectively as 30 regular houseplants. Plus, it's eco-friendly, requiring no electricity, and coming with a self-watering, biodegradable planter. The benefits are noticeable. 87% of customers feel a difference within a week. NeoPX lets you fight air pollution with nature. When you purchase NeoPX, you get 6 Power Drop pouches, and to celebrate the launch, NeoPlants is offering a 7th pouch free. That's an extra month of pure air. Go to neoplants.com/Meidas and the discount will be applied automatically at checkout. Shipping is available within the US with worldwide shipping coming soon. Breathe better, live better with NeoPX.
Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. That's why I love it. All you have to do is you breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on in your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts, so you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. Look, I love Lumen, and I know you will too. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to Lumen, LUMEN.me/Meidas to get 15% off your Lumen. That is LUMEN.me/Meidas for 15% off your purchase. One more time, go to lumen.me/Meidas, LUMEN.me/Meidas, and get 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors, y'all. Links are in the description of the YouTube and the audio. Real quick, NeoPlants, amazing, by the way. So y'all know, like, I'm an inhaler guy. Like, I use my inhaler a lot. Since I've had my NeoPlants, I mean, my air here has been super great and clean, and I have not had to hit this yet. I keep it in my room with me, right behind me.
Interesting way to say I'm an inhaler guy, as in you.
I'm an inhaler.
I'm an inhaler guy.
The asthmatic community.
I don't mean to make light of it, but you're an inhaler guy.
I'm an inhaler guy. We all know inhaler guys. I carry this around. It's phone.
We all know inhaler guys.
Phone wallet keys. For me, it's phone wallet keys, inhaler. My asthmatics know. They know. Y'all are going to get crushed in the comments for this one. They know. And then Lumen has been game change. I mean, super incredible, cool device. You might have seen it being sponsored on our newsletter. They're big fans of the network, so definitely check them out. The discount codes are, again, in the YouTube description and in the audio description. Click the links, use the codes. They're fantastic.
So it's
How
debate
about-
night, which means that the MAGA Republicans are whining and spreading conspiracy theories
Correct.
over and over again. It is the same script that they're so predictable. Like it is the same script that they use over and over again. As Aaron Frischner wrote yesterday, somewhere Donald Trump is wondering to himself how many times he can get away with doing these exact same stupid bits before a debate. He doesn't even change it up a little bit, just counts on mass amnesia, which always seems to work out. You take a look at some of the 2016 election headlines, and they look identical to the headlines today. Donald Trump challenges Hillary Clinton to take a drug test before final debate. The comments cap off an unpredictable several days in which Trump was forced to defend himself against blah, 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 blah. Or how about this one, September 16, 2016? Donald Trump objects to Anderson Cooper as debate moderator. He's very biased. Or how about this one from September 27, 2020? Trump says he's strongly demanding Biden is drug tested ahead of their first presidential debate. Or how about this one? Trump amplifies allegations of bias against another presidential debate moderator. This is all they do, is whine and complain and spread conspiracies. One of the most recent ones that they were spreading today, and this is just totally a lie, so if you heard this, it's false, but doesn't stop Don Jr. and others from posting this. Live TV has a 7-second delay. Why on earth would CNN need a 1 to 2 minute delay unless they were planning a manipulating tonight's debate? Same with Biden refusing to take a drug test if he wasn't jacked up on all sorts of drugs. Why wouldn't he submit to such an easy test? As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, CNN has said that it will start exactly at 9. There will be no delay. The latest conspiracy theory for the crybaby party continues, though. It's what they do. And this is being amplified right now by all of the Republican influencers and the leaders in their party. People like MAGA Republican Stephen Miller, who goes, remember, if you see Biden bizarrely shouting, not blinking and slurring while fast talking tonight, it's because he's on drugs. Or Charlie Kirk. Everyone keeps saying there will be no fans allowed in the audience in tonight's debate. That's not true. Joe Biden will have 2 fans sitting up close, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, or one of their top leaders in the Republican Party. And I'm not making this. The cat feces himself, Cat Turd. Here we go. CNN is already trying to cheat. And you can go on and on and on and see all these MAGA Republicans.
So lame.
And I have videos of all, like, I have like 100 videos loaded of MAGA Republican Congress members and surrogates whining, not talking about, again, what the policy is, what Donald Trump's going to say, what he's going to do, but whining that it's rigged, it's unfair, calling people names, fake tapping.
Quite frankly, Ben, like, even if you put literally everything else aside, that alone, like this constant lying and gaslighting and name calling and all this BS that they do every day, it's just lie, 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 lie. Push them out every day. Lie, like, what's the lie of the day? Oh, maybe we'll have 2 lies of the day today. You know, just push them out. Okay, we got to hit up Cat Turd. We got to kill Cat. We got to get Cat Turd to push this one on Twitter.
Hit up Cat Turd.
I mean, this is what they do. You know that they have chats with all these people and they're pushing them out en masse, and they're trying to frame these BS narratives, and they're all talking, okay, we're going with the drugs, right? We're going with the drugs, push it. Drugs, jacked up. We're going with the 2 minute delay. And then it gets picked up by like the AI of Twitter, who is now running the 2 minute story as a legitimate story on Twitter, even though it's not fake. So they just create this disinformation, they spread it. And this is the same Donald Trump who was complaining months ago about potentially having a Republican debate be moderated by Brett Baier. That was too liberal for Donald Trump. He couldn't handle Brett Baier because Brett Baier didn't smile enough at him. He didn't smile. You know, this is a good opportunity, though. We're having a little fun with all this silly stuff about President Biden is going to be jacked up tonight. Jacked
up Joe.
We're taking it back. We got some exclusive merch on the MeidasTouch store that you can check out. This is real, folks. We got Jacked Up Joe merch right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. And if you are listening, you got to see this illustration. Our illustrators did such a fantastic job on this. And we have Jacked Up Joe stickers, Jacked Up Joe t-shirts. I love this gear, and I love taking their stupid conspiracies and flipping them into positives. And I think these are incredible, hilarious shirts to commemorate this.
Look,
moment.
I
store.MeidasTouch.com.
So good. One of the funniest things about this whole testing before the debate, if we look back to the first debate 4 years ago, when there was a global pandemic, Donald Trump showed up too late to test for COVID, and he went on that stage with COVID, trying to infect President Biden, trying to infect Biden.
What a sick.
I saw one
It's
commentator
all
say,
projection. He won't test. He won't test. Trump literally didn't test when there was a global pandemic. We just reflect on how crazy that was.
I saw one commentator say, if there's really a drug that cures dementia, even for a few hours at a time, bring that to the market immediately. Show us that drug, because why has that been concealed from mankind? And look, I debated in middle school, debated in high school. I ran a Toastmasters organization in college. I was part of a debate team. I've never heard at any level, starting at middle school and upwards, of people saying, that person's a great debater. I think that they may be on performance enhancing drugs. I think that's the issue with their debate skill, that's what's going on. But you have to leave it to MAGA. I mean, they're the party that goes, you know why this trial's unfair? The judge's daughter. The judge. Yeah. You see, it's the judge's daughter is rigging the trial. Who else? The jury's rigging the trial. How are they rigging the trial? They're all Democrats. But didn't you just say that New York's going to turn red? Isn't your whole thing that you're flipping New York? And there is
they don't need consistency.
They don't need consistency at all. But anyway, let's get to some of the issues, though, that I want to hear about in 15 minutes when the president of the United States, Joe Biden, will debate a convicted felon. I want to hear discussions about the insurrection and how Donald Trump still supports the insurrectionists, how Donald Trump has changed our national anthem and has replaced it with a song that is sung by the J6th Choir, some of the most violent insurrectionists. And if Donald Trump tries to wiggle out like he never called these people hostages, you made a music song with them and replaced our national anthem with it. And you, at all of your traveling fascist circus events, say, release the hostages, Joe. That's what you say over and over again. Like in this clip right here, and I could show you, again, dozens of these, but I'll show you one exemplar here of Donald Trump saying, release the hostages, Joe. Here, play this clip.
What they've done, and they ought to, you know what they ought to do? They ought to release the J6 hostages. They've suffered enough. They ought to release them. I call them hostages. Some people call them prisoners. I call them hostages. Release the J6 hostages, Joe. Release him, Joe. You can do it real easy, Joe. This guy, what he's done to people. And it.
It's a sick
He's a real sociopath to it. Release him, Joe. Release him, Joe. And by the way, you remember in the 2020 debate, it was Proud Boys stand back and stand by. Here's what Donald Trump said on Meet the Press very recently about pardoning the Proud Boys for leading the J6 insurrection after telling them stand back, stand by in 2020. Here, play this clip.
Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in jail. Now that you know what the sentence is, 22 years in jail, will you give him a pardon? Will you give other Proud Boys a pardon?
I don't know him. I never met him. I never heard of him until I started reading this stuff.
Will you pardon him?
But I want to tell you, he and other people have been treated horribly.
Will you pardon him?
In Minneapolis, I'd certainly look at it. I'd look at that, and I'd look at all the other people that have suffered, the J6 people.
Let's take a look at the J6 people, though, that he's referring to, because there's only, just to be clear, there's only about 15 people who are currently incarcerated who he refers to as the hostages. So NBC did a look at who are these people who are currently incarcerated that he's referring to as hostages. So meet some of the violent January 6 rioters, Donald Trump keeps calling hostages. Trump has made his defense of those incarcerated in Capitol attack cases a central piece of his 2024 campaign. I mean, just think about that. Like, not like, here's what I'm going to do for you, America, right? It's the central piece is defending the incarcerated Capitol attackers. Many are accused of assaulting police, others fled. It's people like this. Daniel Ball, charged with assaulting law enforcement and throwing an explosive device at them. Or Tim Boehner allegedly bragged he effed the cops up after putting chemical spray in their faces. I can go on and give you the background of the others. They're like this. And so I think it is important that the moderators ask this question. I don't think, because of the way the media has both sides this issue and tried to normalize J6, I think the American people need to hear that he's changed our national anthem to the J6 choir song, that he calls the insurrectionists hostages. Things like that, I think, are going to be important. Brett, Jordan.
No, absolutely. And I think it's not talked about enough also just how offensive it is to call those violent J6ers hostages and what it evokes for in comparing them to actual hostages. You know, it's just such an absolute disgrace. You know, it looks like President Biden out there is having fun as well with all the jacked up Joe commentary from the Republicans. And he just posted this hilarious photo, which we'll put up. Joe Biden writes, "I don't know what they've got in these performance enhancers, but I'm feeling pretty jacked up. Try it for yourself, folks. See it in a bit." And he is selling Joe's secret sauce. And it says, for those listening, it is a bottle that has his picture, the Dark Brandon picture on it. And it says Dark Brandon secret sauce. And then under it says, "Get real, Jack. It's just water. Zero malarkey." He gives photo credit to Jill Biden. And here's what it says on the back of these cans. If we could go to that photo. This is the back of the $4.60 can of secret sauce water Biden campaign is now selling with faux ingredients: MAGA tears, mysterious orange liquid, and melted chocolate chip ice cream. Because if you guys know, Biden's like one of his favorite drink is orange Gatorade. It's his favorite ice cream. And the other day, there was an image of President Biden drinking an orange Gatorade. And of course, because they can't do anything normally, these Republicans, these MAGA people had to take that photo and say, "What is he drinking? What is it? Drugs? Is it secret sauce?" And so President Biden having a bit fun with it the same way we are with
the other ingredients on there as well. When you like listed off like calories, it's felony counts 34, bankruptcy 6, impeachments 2, business failures countless. This is vicious.
Yeah, this is wow. This is great. This is
A++ right there. A++.
But here's the thing: if you know President Biden, this is who he is. He performs on game time. He doesn't spend the time whining and complaining and saying they're all out to get me and wah, wah, wah. No. When it's game time, he's like, let's go. And I'm going to mock the crap out of you. And I think what we're seeing right now is also going to be the tone he sets in the debate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's going to mock Donald Trump, but I think he's going to be like, what was that? Did you all just hear what he just said there? But look, there's going to be some serious topics discussed as well. And as I showed you those clips of Donald Trump's love of the January 6th insurrectionists, and now he says he's going to pardon them, and he's looking into pardoning the Proud Boys, right? 2020 Proud Boys, stand back, stand by. They listened to him. They did that. They led the insurrection. And now he's saying, I'm going to pardon them. And you know what? I'm going to make musicals with them. He's made musicals with them and replaced our national anthem with the J6 choir. I just don't think that gets enough attention. You changed our anthem, our national anthem. You're selling sticky page Bibles that removes portions of the Constitution that somehow mixed with the sticky pages of the Bibles, the portions of the Constitution you don't like. You're saying you want to be a dictator? What? This is America. What are we talking about? But I want to show you this too. What's Donald Trump going to say when he's asked about how he supported and he led to overturning Roe v. Wade? Because here's what he was asked in Atlanta, Georgia. Notably, he's in Atlanta now for this debate. But when he was asked in Atlanta, what he says. Let me show you what he said over here about women's reproductive rights. Let's play this clip.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Yeah, that wasn't the clip I was looking for. That was him in 2016, though. But he's been at least consistent with that position. There's the other clip where he was in Atlanta, where he says that states should be allowed to throw doctors in prison for reproductive health care. We'll get that clip in just a moment. But Brett, he's going to be asked questions like that. And let's play it.
Question. You answered some questions about abortion, but do you think a doctor should be punished who perform abortions?
I'll let that be to the states. You know, everything we're doing now is states and states' rights. And what we wanted to do is get it back to the states, because for 53 years it's been a fight. And now the states are handling it. And some have handled it very well, and the others will end up handling it very well. And those are the things that states are going to make a determination about. Okay?
5 minutes until the president of the United States, Joe Biden, will be debating a convicted felon in Atlanta, one of the areas actually where Donald Trump has been charged with a racketeering conspiracy as well. So Trump actually in a crime scene of his own making as well. So I think that's a notable thing. President Biden's been mocking Donald Trump throughout the last few hours, including the fact that at least as of now, we don't know where Melania is. But President Biden posting that he's happy to have Dr. Jill Biden by his side. And former President Trump arrived in Atlanta without Melania Trump by his side. So I thought that was notable. We just showed you as well the drinks the Biden campaign is passing out. I don't know what they've got in these performance enhancers, but I'm feeling pretty jacked up. Try it yourself, folks. Get real jacked. It's just water. And we showed you at store.MeidasTouch.com our jacked up Joe gear right there. That's 100% real. Store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com, where we also have there some other items that were featured in the Donald Trump criminal trial, since Donald Trump's lawyers made our website one of the key exhibits in their failed cross-examination of Michael Cohen. So if you want to purchase the actual exhibits in Trump's criminal trial, you go to store.MeidasTouch.com. 5 minutes away to the debate, the president of the United States will be debating a convicted felon. While President Biden's having a good time about this right now, you have all the MAGA surrogates out there spreading every conspiracy, saying it's rigged, and they're whining. And it's just such an unbelievable contrast that I think we're going to see on stage as well. With this big audience, I may as well remind everybody about Patreon, our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. One thing about this network that's growing faster than any other independent, or I think media network in general on digital, is we're not funded by any outside investors. Think about that. It's all funded with those emojis that you see. Throw some of those emojis up, everybody, so some of the new people joining us can see the membership emojis right there. Our pro-democracy sponsors help out as well. And then separately, our Patreon, where we have some cool special features at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, including next week, we will hold an exclusive Zoom meeting. So if you want to meet Brett, Jordy, and myself, go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And look, it just helps grow this platform. You got Fox, that's fun. What do they do? Like $15 billion a year in revenue or something crazy with all the disinfo. Let's just say our emojis don't quite hit those marks, but thanks to your support, we're able to grow this community, and this community is spreading by word of mouth. And we're just sharing pro-democracy, love, compassion, decency, which I think is the remedy for all that hate and disinformation. Brett, I want to get your closing thoughts. Jordy, I want to get your closing thoughts before the debate starts. Brett, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think I think President Biden's going to do a great job tonight. I think Biden shines in these moments. I think he's well prepared. He's been preparing for the last few days. which MAGA tries to act like it's a bad thing that you would prepare for arguably one of the biggest nights of the campaign. I mean, I actually like leaders who prepare and don't just wing everything. But, I think President Biden's going to do a great job. I think look out for those key moments of the night, like the stand back, stand by moment of 2020. That will be the defining moment. Follow along with clips on all of our social media. Follow ACYN on Twitter, ACYN. Follow us on all of our various platforms. We will be doing additional coverage there. On Patreon, there is a chat in the Patreon app. I'm sure a lot of folks will be continuing the chat throughout on the Patreon app itself. Unfortunately, like we said, we're not able to actually stream the debate itself here on the MeidasTouch network. CNN has not given us the rights, and if you see it on other YouTube, we requested it. CNN told us that any YouTube channels out there who try to run it, they will issue copyright takedowns and punish those channels. So if you do see other channels doing it, they will likely get in trouble for it. We have to follow the rules, so we will. But it's going to be a good night. And, I think it's an important night for our country, as crazy as it is. And I'm happy to be here with you to be able to deliver this coverage. And we will be back also for post coverage after. Ben, when are we going to be returning?
We'll be returning right after. We'll do a review of the debate immediately after 7:30 Pacific is when we'll do it, right after the debate. But I'll also have a recap video that will be loaded on our YouTube channel of everything that happened, you probably within 10, 15 minutes. So make sure you keep refreshing. Jordy, final word for you.
I'm ready for this. Let's go. I'm jacked up, B. I'm jacked up. Should I take us out?
Jacked up Jordy. Take us away.
Take us out, Joe. Well, I want to say this. Thank you, Midas Mighty. We're so grateful for you. We really are. You mean the world to us. Hit subscribe if you hadn't. It's free to subscribe. Let's keep growing this thing together. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Let's use our power well.